Listen to the unofficial voice of World Cup 2006, brought to you by Times Online and Avalon in association with the new Dodge Calibre.
We're in Dortmund, in our hotel.
It's a Schalke 4 hotel, as it happened. There's big pictures everywhere, massive wall-to-wall pictures of Schalke 4.
Schalke 4 are the local football team, in case you don't know.
One of the things about England going out of any major tournament, which I think me and Frank are quite used to now, is that I'm already a bit over it. I don't know how you feel. I was incredibly pissed off and depressed, and we didn't speak the whole way in the journey back. We didn't exchange a word. Didn't speak to Roach. Didn't speak to Bianca. Roach actually kept us waiting for half an hour in the van while he talked with some mates from Radio 5.
Yeah. Well, these radio blokes, when they get together.
Yeah, they had a great big chat. But we just sat quiet in the van, and then I got into the hotel, and I just thought, oh, well, you know.
So what always happens.
So what always happens. And what I actually started to just think is, if they had won... I mean, this might be just me, but how long would I be joyful for? Probably about 2 hours. Then something would bother me. Like Roachy, for example, has got a much bigger hotel room than me. We'd still be coming back to this hotel. I'd still be pissed off about that, even if England had won.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I find that when they win, is that it lasts for about 2 hours, and then you kind of forget about it. You get up the next morning, and you're lying in bed, and you remember it, and then you have a show, and then you think about them winning again, and all that. So it is the gift that keeps on giving. When they lose, you say you're over it, but I bet at some point in the next few hours, you'll think, oh, shit, you'll remember that we're out of the World Cup.
No, well, that's true, especially when I think about the week we've got in Germany without England being here. That's going to be quite... upsetting.
Yeah, but, well, it always happens.
Well, this is a very noble anti-racist course, but does it mean that David Beckham is going to read out... David Beckham's going to read out the quite lyrical speech. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Using the power of football, we can help remove racism from the game and society too. We are committed to doing what we can and are appealing to you to join us in fighting this evil.
Well done, Dad. I bet Parsons is in tears. I also imagine Ron Atkinson is sitting at home in tears as well. Why didn't I think of that as an opening gambit? He might be doing it now on his self-cast.
But that is a thing, being at a tournament. I mean, when I was in Japan last time and England went out, I kind of went home the next day, which seems to be part and parcel of the experience of them going out. But here we are going to be here for another week, which may, we'll turn up good things. We're going to the semi-final, we're going to the World Cup final.
It's probably
It'll be tinged with something now, won't it?
It was undiplomatic of me and you to be singing We're Not Going Home as we was leaving the ground.
Yeah. I sort of wish I was, of course.
Yeah, I wish you was as well, you miserable git. Anyway, we're out, and it was horrible, and we didn't talk for about an hour after, but, we battle on. I think it was Elvis Costello who said, I used to be disgusted, now I try to be amused.
As we come up to half-time, what worries me is that wise old fox Phil Scolari will have been watching this, spotted some weakness in our play, in our formation, explain that to the players and exploit it at half-time, exploit it in the second half. Whereas Sven would have just spotted some woman with big tits in row G.
I spoke to my brother, Ivor Baddiel, who you know, and... he said, I said, something or other, and he said, well, this always happens, doesn't it? It was like in Germany in 1996 or in 1990. And I said, but yeah, wasn't that a great game of football at least? And you come away thinking that was a great game of football. I'm not sure this was a great game of football. It seemed to me to be just constantly tense.
Tell. When you're at the game, I think it's impossible to tell because a game this big and with so much drama in it, judgment of it, when you're on telly you can do it, but when you're actually sitting in the ground, it's impossible to judge because you're so wrapped up in it.
What I did think was that it was the most viscerally, kind of physically affecting game of football I think I've ever been at. I may just have forgotten how I felt exactly at some of the other ones, but I felt sick, about to faint. At one point I actually thought I was going to have an aneurysm, which was when your head explodes. And it was a combination of the huge drama going on. The whole thing seemed to go on for days, and the fact it was really hot and stuffy with the roof on in that stadium. So at one point I wasn't sure I could breathe properly.
Yeah, I don't like the roof. It's an odd idea, that.
Yeah.
Because it had a sound of a five-a-side game.
Yeah, it felt like a very dramatic big game being played in the David Lloyd Centre in North London.
Yeah.
Well, first half was quite tight, a bit tense. But Dave's just had an exciting event, haven't you?
Well, I went out to go to the toilet.
I should say he's eating a pretzel if he sounds a bit normal.
Our area is the kind of plebby hospitality area, really. And next to us, there's a posh hospitality area, and I've noticed there's some quite attractive women there. Anyway, as I was going out towards the toilet in our area, I bumped into Posh, as I believe some people still call her, or Mrs. Beckham.
And I call her old Ma Beckham.
Yeah, well, all that happened was, and I have met her before, but I didn't want to speak to her because I thought she might be preoccupied. I just sort of walked away, and I heard her say, "Cheryl, can you take him to the toilet?" Now, I don't think she was talking about David, and I assumed she was talking about the small child that she was with. I don't know who Cheryl is.
Could it be Cheryl Tweedy?
It might be Cheryl Tweedy, actually. I didn't really see who she was with. It might actually, now you mention it, but surely, I know she's Queen of the Wags, but surely she can't order Cheryl Tweedy around, tell him to take her child to the toilet, surely.
Besides, you don't really want Cheryl Tweedy to take your child into the toilet. She might get involved in a big fight with one of the toilet assistants.
Exactly. They have them here. It's all countries have them here demanding their €1. Cheryl wouldn't have any of that.
I started to think, from a football point of view, that we lost this tournament when Michael Owen got injured. Today, I thought that, though. What I thought was, we had quite a lot of chances, it seemed to me. We had about 4 really good chances, and we didn't have anyone who scores those kind of chances. We didn't have a goal scorer in the side. I mean, Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, they can score goals. Frank Lampard hasn't been in this tournament. But they aren't goal scorers. That isn't actually their job.
So now it's Stevie Gerrard with the corner. Junior, I always like to call him.
Yeah, well, he certainly looks like Frank Lampard Jr. at the moment.
No, I don't see why his dad is known as Frank Lampard Senior and he's just called Frank Lampard. I don't think he get anything for being there first.
Yeah, perhaps he should be called Frank Lampard II.
I'd like that, that'd be great.
Actually, what we lacked, I think, was Gary Lineker. Because that's what I thought, is that even though Michael Owen is a very good goal scorer, I kind of think when have England had since Lineker that bloke who is always going to score at the absolute moment you need him to score in the most important games?
Well, I think that at the end of the day we have to consider the fact that the manager did not pick the correct squad, because certainly when Rooney got sent off, we were in a position then where we only had 2 strikers really to start with. Both of them were slightly injured. One had gone home completely crippled. The other one was out for the rest of the World Cup. Then we had Peter Crouch, who I know we have an amnesty on jokes about him, but I still don't think he's any good really for that level. And then we have a completely untried and tested teenager who Sven seems to have changed his mind about before he even came.
Well, it's very.
So who would we have played up front in the next game?
Well, if we'd won that game, we would have presumably been playing Crouch up front by himself, or Crouch with Gerrard as a second striker, or Joe Cole. I mean, a very, very makeshift thing if we'd gone through, because I don't think he would have played Walcott. He couldn't play Walcott in a semi-final of a World Cup.
The simple fact is, I think you need to be intelligent to be a manager. You need to be cleverer than the players and cleverer than the other manager. And I don't think Sven is either of those things.
But that's one of the interesting things, I think, about this particular thing that we've seen today, which is that the press go on about Scolari, the passionate man, the outspoken man, the shouting manager, and Sven, the professor, and all that. But that's just like what they look like, because Scolari's clearly a cleverer manager. He's won now 3 times, every time they've met. he plays, it seems to me, a cleverer tactical game. And just because he's not so kind of quiet and doesn't sometimes wear glasses like Sven does, he clearly doesn't make him not the cleverer man.
Yeah, but I thought that a lot of Portugal's play was pretty despicable. And I don't know if that's actually encouraged on the training ground. But, you know, I mean, I know everyone does play acting now, but I thought it was a horrible victory by a horrible team, who I very much hope don't win the World Cup. I thought they were hateful.
And fucking Rudy's been fucking sent off for fuck all. Now he's going off on a fucking stretcher. I can't fucking believe. What did he fucking do though? Oh, we've been fucking cheated out of this.
Well, again, one of the things I learnt from my brother, I know this is probably completely known now by people in England, but when Rooney got sent off, I couldn't even quite work out what had happened. From our point of view, it just looked like he was involved in a rough tackle and then pushed Cristiano Ronaldo because Ronaldo had kind of riled him. But then it turns out that they've showed Ronaldo winking at one of his teammates after Rooney got sent off, as if Ronaldo knows, which he indeed might do because they play for the same team and are on the training ground together, how to rile Rooney, poking him in the back or whatever he did. And it seems like the assumption is that Ronaldo did what he planned to do, which is to get Rooney sent off, which if it is true means that I can't see how they can carry on playing together at Manchester United ever again.
Yeah, but I can also easily believe that Ronaldo winked because he quite fancied the other player.
Yeah, well, that might be true. We won't be able to say that, though.
Yeah, of course you can.
All right.
Why not?
Because we're implying that Cristiano Ronaldo is a homosexual.
I'm not implying that at all. I think it's possible for a man to find another man attractive without it going to a physical level.
Well, what do you think about that, Rochi?
Oh, you can say.
Yeah.
So I meant, what do you think about a man fancying another man without going to a physical level?
I can't hear Rochi hasn't got a microphone.
Rochi hasn't got a microphone. Anyway, I don't know whether Ronaldo did that or not. I do think there is a thing, particularly like with young players, that any chance of them ever thinking in terms of whether something is okay to do ethically on the pitch is completely gone now.
Yeah, I think we're still holding on to that a bit in England. Clearly in Portugal, it's actually considered very admirable to be dishonest on the pitch.
Now's the time for the courageous England performance. 10 brave young men of England taking on Portugal and the fucking referee.
I also think there's a problem with Rooney, though. I mean, I think he wasn't fit, but I also think one of the ways in which Sven isn't very bright is that I think Rooney is, he's a hard bloke. He's a hard bloke from a very hard part of Liverpool, and he's got a temper on him, and he needs to be, to some extent, controlled and monitored and trained not to do that kind of thing, because people are going to pick on him, they are going to try and rile him, and no one seems to be monitoring him at all.
Yeah,
where's Gary Lineker? And I'm sorry to go on about Gary Lineker, but where's the Gary Lineker signed to Bobby Robson about Gaza?
Word with him.
Yeah, where's that about Rooney?
Just when the red card, in this stadium, the red card really sort of glowed, really caught the light above the heads of all the players and the ref. I couldn't fucking believe it was red.
I could see he was going to get booked.
Yeah, booked, but I couldn't believe it was red. It was just there, glowing against the grass.
You're right. It did glow like a terrible flag from hell.
Yeah, but I think I do keep coming back to the thing about Sven, because I could be an England manager the way Sven is an England manager. I've never known any England manager who picks the blokes that the papers say, because the papers are always coming up with new England players. And usually there's a period where the England manager doesn't pick them, and then he either goes away or the manager does eventually pick them. But with Sven, as soon as anyone's mentioned in the paper as decent, he picks them. It's like picking it's basically by a sort of press vote. I don't know. I mean, I never feel that he has sat down and thought this is the blend. He just picks all the name players. And what England, they've ended up with a team of Galacticos like Real Madrid, who have never looked like a proper team.
So here's a question for you, Dave, right? It's 73 minutes into the second half. If this goes to penalties, who's going to take England's 5 penalties now?
Lampard, Steven Gerrard, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand and Peter Crouch, I'm guessing. I mean, Aaron Lennon, I don't know what Lennon's like on penalties, I've no idea.
In other words, we better win in ordinary time, or at least in extra time, because if that's our 5 penalty takers, we're completely in shit.
I mean, surely, on the one occasion we won the World Cup, the manager had the guts to pick the right blend of players. And he didn't just pick the 11 best players in the country. He thought, probably Jimmy Greaves is the best striker in the world at the moment, but he doesn't quite fit in with my style of play, and that takes balls.
Well, no, it does. But
whereas
also,
Sven just wants to be Mr. Popular.
But I also think the thing about Ramsey is that he had a vision and a way of playing, which, whether you agree with it or not, is a vision and a way of playing. And I wouldn't. You're still now, after 5.5 years, I'll be hard pushed to tell you what Sven's vision is. It's sort of vaguely defensive, and mainly, as you say, someone who thinks I'll pick the players that people seem to want me to pick. There doesn't seem to be. I can't describe what the Goran Eriksson style of play is still.
So it's extra time. Maybe this is because I'm getting to be an old man, but whenever I watch an England team lying around on the pitch, I always think of 66 and we're into extra time. And I hate to call it 66. I know that's what wankers do. But it does remind me of Alf Ramsey saying, you've beat them once, now beat them again.
They haven't beaten them once yet, though.
No, they haven't beaten them.
That's the trouble.
Couldn't Sven go around saying, look, you've been rubbish, but you've kept winning.
Yeah.
Be rubbish, win again.
Well, maybe that is what he's saying. You've got to 0-0 and you've missed a few chances. Why don't you put one of them in? It doesn't quite go in the same way.
But I bet Sven is actually saying, have you seen that bird with the big tits in row G?
But I know some of the players will take that to heart.
That can be inspirational, I have to say. This is what you're fighting for.
Well, I'm glad he's gone. It was an interesting experiment, and he got us to 2 World Cups. He rescued the Kevin Keegan World Cup campaign. He got us to European Championships, but he's never going to win anything because he could get us to about quarterfinals. He weren't good enough.
No, he wasn't good enough. But also, I still think that virtually every England fan in that ground, even the most frightening and the most inarticulate, could have told you what was wrong with the team.
To beat these cheating, play-acting, dishonest Portuguese gits.
It was interesting because to see Beckham seemingly, but as you said, I think, become part of the management team at one stage.
Well, when he was off injured, he did seem to become part of the management team. 'Cause he was hobbling around with one sock on and one sock off.
But that was quite admirable, I think, because at one point they showed him crying, which is a big thing with footballers now. Until Gaza, footballers had never cried. Now they cry all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, he stopped crying, which I think is good, because I think enough with the crying already. And then he did actually seem to be suggesting stuff. And of course, Sven, being the bloke he is, will definitely listen to David Beckham, because he listens to everybody.
Also, because David Beckham's a bit of a celebrity,
Yeah,
Sven
exactly.
will be really impressed by him.
Yeah, he'd probably have listened to Victoria if she'd gone down to the dugout.
He would. If Victoria said, can I come and sit here and make...
Well, we know Victoria was in the dugout sitting on David's lap in a international some years ago.
Yeah.
She may have been saying to Sven, you see, what I think you should do is play with one striker up front, kind of disattached from the midfield.
Anyway, he's gone, Sven. That's good. I was slightly pissed off that he was essentially sacked by the fake sheikh instead of the FA or public opinion, but I am glad he's gone.
Go on, Hargreaves, go on! Go on, Hargreaves! Oh, shit, go on! Oh, fucking hell!
I am worried about Steve McLaren, but hey, he's English. At least he'll be... You feel that if Steve McLaren had managed us tonight, that Steve McLaren would be feeling as shit as we're feeling. Whereas Sven, I'd be very surprised if he's much bothered. He's probably already on the phone to somebody about the next job.
I have to say this, in the midst of all the horror, I've just looked at David Baddiel, and it is the funniest sight, because he did have a cross of St George on his cheek, and there is just a terrible mess of red. He thought he's glasses,
But yours is all over your mouth. You look like a child who's had too much strawberry ice cream. But I think it's a terrible metaphor.
Cheryl Tweedy will take me to the toilet.
Yeah, it's a terrible metaphor for what's happened to England. And they're kind of ragged and all over the place.
But my point is that I do think that this was a team with a lot of talent in it, and, when you actually look at the teams that we've had at World Cups, recently. It's a better team, man for man, and all that. And it's
but that's not.
No, I know
that's
that
not
doesn't
what
make.
It's about. It's like when Newcastle bought Faustino Asprilla just because he was like this exciting player, and Keegan had no idea where he was going to play him. He's tried to wedge him in there because he was a good player, and the whole team system crumbled, and that's how they lost the league.
Yeah, but I don't agree with you in the idea that if you've got loads of good players, that means they can't be a team. They obviously can be a team. The Brazil 1970 team was a team. It's just that someone needs to mould them in the right way.
But they got lucky. You can't pick them all. Some of them won't get in the team because the chances of them all fit in the system. It's like, I don't know about you, but I never buy or rarely buy greatest hits albums anymore because greatest hits albums, okay, you get their best songs, but they never quite fit together because they're all from different periods. Whereas if you buy someone's album, it's a slice of their creativity over the space of a few months. And even though not all the songs are as strong, it kind of works as a uni. Whereas when you buy a greatest hits, you get all this disjointed big songs. And then you get a few fillers because they think, well, they've got all the big songs, so we can put any old rubbish in to fill up the album. And that's what the England team's like. It's a greatest hits album, but it hasn't got that kind of unity and it hasn't got that kind of focus and that vision.
No one will ever nominate a greatest hits album as the best album of all time.
No, or their favourite album. No, of course not.
Well, the penalties are going to be taken in the goal right in front of me and Dave. And we've adopted the penalty stand.
We've decided to put our arms around each other and stand there while the penalties are taken with arms around each other. That's what footballers do, and that's what we're doing.
And as we've completely messed up the crosses of St George on our face, people are thinking, look at those two blokes from the dermatitis clinic showing a bit of unity.
Yeah, all they're thinking, it's a strange place for a child's entertainment act to perform.
First penalty then. Well, I wouldn't be totally surprised if the referee wasn't taking one for Portugal. First penalty for Portugal. Oh, he scored.
It seemed to me that the Gerrard Lampard thing never worked. Despite the fact they're both really good players, something was wrong with that. I think, there is an argument that we should have been playing with just one of them and the team around one of them and not both of them. And that fits in with what you're saying, because the point is, they're both stars, they're both brilliant players. Sven, who can't make decisions, and certainly can't make decisions that might piss anyone off, thinks, well, I can't drop either of them. Whereas, in fact, it may have been better to drop one of them and think, okay, that works better, because you can't really have two attacking central midfielders, both of whom, in their own sides, are the axis of the team. You can't have them both there. They cancel each other out. But that may or may not be right. The point is, he wouldn't try it. Not really, because he was too worried about, these are star players, I don't want to piss them off.
Frank Lampard Jr. with the first England penalty. Come on, Frank. I love you, Frank. Not again. Please, not again. Please, not again.
The only thing they might remember is the 5-1 against Germany, until as far as football record goes.
I don't believe now that 5-1 had anything to do with Sven because it was such a one-off. It was, we got Germany team weren't great. We were firing, but Michael Owen was the best striker in the world at the time, arguably. I think all this stuff about Sven getting lucky and being in the right place, I thought was taught, but now I'm just thinking, rubbish, get out.
Well, no, but you might be right. I think that 5-1 might become to be seen as quite important, though, in terms of the energy it created around Sven being in England's saviour, which went on for quite a long time, really, possibly till today.
Second Portugal penalty.
But there was tears in my eyes at the end of the game today, and the specific thought which made me feel especially upset was I thought, I don't think I'm going to see England win a major tournament in my lifetime. I'm 50 next year, and I honestly think time is running out because I just can't see it happening.
What you could do is try and be a bit healthier, and because I think if you live a bit longer, you might have more of a chance. I know you're quite healthy, but I think you could be a bit healthier.
Yeah, but I think today's match has probably taken about 5 years off, so it all works against
You
itself.
said it to me, actually. You said it in 1998 when we left the Stade de France. and we were driving back at the sound of French horns, you said to me, Dave, will we ever see an England team win the World Cup in our lifetime? And that was
Well, of
8
course, I
years
have
ago.
seen one win in my lifetime.
Yeah, but not in our
I'd like to see
adult
one win in
lifetime.
colour instead of black and white.
Yeah.
So we're level again, and it's some other Portuguese bloke. Who cares which one? Oh, shit! Yes! Fucking yes! 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 Oh, fucked it up! He missed.
What we should say is that these podcasts started with me singing a song about Owen Hargreaves being in the squad because he knew his way around Germany and could get into a few clubs and stuff like that. And in fact, today, I think we have to hold up our hands and say Owen Hargreaves was really man of the match. And was
Owen
great.
Hargreaves was great today, and actually
And was
played really well.
Running,
and
I mean,
incredibly
with
fit.
3 minutes to go
Yeah.
to penalties, he was still running like a
Yeah.
nutcase.
It's a double-edged sword, though, I think, the Owen Hargreaves thing, because I think he played really well, and I thought, like, before extra time, I thought Owen Hargreaves was man of the match. But I also thought there's something very typical about that, because the reason Owen Hargreaves is man of the match is he's run out of his skin. He's kind of, like, really, really made a supreme effort. But, it's still, there's something very English about that, in that I didn't think Owen Hargreaves is man of the match because he's played the most incredibly skillful balls through.
No, but that's all right.
No, it's all right, but I think it's not what's going to win us the World Cup.
Well, maybe it's time to stop. I mean, I think English football was irreparably damaged by Brazil winning the World Cup in 1970, because before that, we were still a major world power, despite Hungary winning at Wembley, right? We were still a major power, and what we did, we played English football the way English football is naturally played, with big stopper centre-halves and, big, strong centre-forwards, and still skillful players, but basically a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat and a lot of guts. And then in 1970, we thought, this is how you're supposed to play football. You're supposed to be fabulous flair players and entertaining and all that. And I think there's a fabulous book called... by a bloke called Simon Cooper, I
book,
think.
yeah.
And it's about how each country has its own style of play. And it is incredible that the Germans play a certain way and the Italians play a certain play. And I'm not talking about one team, I'm talking about generations of teams inherit that style of play. And what we did, we basically turned our back on our own inheritance and tried to play like Continentals or South Americans. And I think whilst learning something from those teams, I think you have to keep you have to keep true to what your own football self is. And I think England need to look at that and accept that blokes like Owen Hargreaves and basically hard-working, solid players are the backbone of the team, and then you decorate that team with a few fancy players.
Well, that might be true.
So if they score now, we've lost. Oh, if anyone is going to miss, I want it to be this brat.
I don't fancy him to miss.
He's a bottler.
He's not.
He is a total
I
bottler.
wish he was.
Oh, he's kissed the ball. Nah, 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 nah. Come on, Robbo! Oh!
There was a myth kicking around this whole World Cup that basically we were playing some sort of defensive dour football, which a lot of teams have been very successful with over the years. I mean, Bolton's the obvious example in the Premiership, really. But we weren't doing that. We were playing failed, attacking, creative, flair football, which we just couldn't do.
No, well, you're right. I mean, the thing that seemed to be the most annoying thing that Sven said was he said, so we have played bad football, we're through. If we win this World Cup playing bad football, who cares? And the thing is that's a notion about football. No one wins a World Cup through playing bad football. Greece didn't win Euro 2004 playing bad football. They won it through playing a very tight, defensive, dull football, but it wasn't bad. They just did it really, really
No, they were
well.
very good at that.
We didn't do any of that really, really well. We gave the ball away. We were constantly frightened at the back. Ecuador nearly scored. You didn't see that happening to Greece.
Yeah, but not only that, we didn't get to the quarterfinals by playing bad football. I know we played bad football, but it was those little tiny bits
Yeah,
of good football
course.
that we played that
Yeah.
got us to the quarterfinals,
Yeah.
like Joe Cole's goal and
Yeah,
Stephen Gerrard's
exactly.
goal, and those little moments.
Yeah.
It was the bad football that was holding us back.
Yeah, the
It
bad
wasn't
football that was
helping.
holding us back, and also we played some very, very ordinary and worse than ordinary teams, so we just about got by playing bad football. That's the problem. And then we played a good team who also were despicably cheating, which didn't help, and then we lost.
Anyway, the World Cup continues. The podcast will continue. We'll kind of be back to normal next show.
Yeah,
But I couldn't be bothered to sit and be funny tonight. I'm pissed off.
yeah, fair enough.
Of course I had started to hope, always a bad thing. Turns out once more I'm the dope for thinking they might win. I'm the fool for giving it space, for letting that idea in my head, for giving birth to that chance of joy, only to see it again put to bed. Of course I had started to hope, always a bad thing. Turns out once more I'm the dope for thinking that they might win, that they might win.
Listen to the unofficial voice of World Cup 2006, brought to you by Times Online and Avalon in association with the new Dodge Calibre.